Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. We are going to be talking about an update from Jadon Sancho, which has come through in the last few minutes. But De Gea transfer frustration, some quite big statement from David De Gea across his Instagram and Twitter today. I mean, I've got to give him credit there, Joe. Putting a tweet out and Instagram at the same time with the same thing is something I've always struggled with. We're going to talk about De Gea and Henderson because Joe is pro Hendo and I'm pro De Gea. But you have been on a fan forum before, but big welcome to Joe, who's joined the channel. How you doing, pal?
Unreal. Thanks so much. I am so overjoyed to be here. This is like class. This is somewhat a dream come true to be on here with the Super Goldbridge. And I'm looking forward to putting you to the sword over the fact that you're pro De Gea somehow. And so let's bring it on. Make it happen. Let's do this.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to this. I like somebody who has a different opinion to me because it generates good conversation. But we're going to start off, first of all, with Jadon Sancho, because this is coming in from Bild in Germany, saying that Dortmund have not received an offer for Jadon Sancho. Manchester United are a possibility, but direct contact between the club bosses has not yet taken place. Dortmund currently do not assume that a transfer will happen before the Euros. So that is contrary to a lot of what I've been hearing for the last week from people that I do trust, that there is the possibility of a deal happening before the Euros, and that Jadon Sancho is anxious to get a deal done. United are anxious to get a deal done, and Dortmund are anxious to get a deal done. But that's from Bild in Germany. That this is unlikely to happen before the Euros, and that as of yet, United is a possibility, but there is no discussion, which is contrary to what we heard yesterday from good English sources. Joe, where do you sit on Jadon Sancho and the likelihood of this happening and whether it will happen or should happen?
Well, look, it's 100% for me that he is coming to United. I was the same last season. Obviously, it didn't happen for... we could make the argument say it was right that it didn't happen. I think from a fan perspective, it should have happened last season, 100%. I don't give a shit how much money we spend because we make enough. It's just being robbed by certain people. But we could have had it last season, would have made a huge effect. We could have even possibly won the league or at least won a tournament with him, have it be him in the squad. But now I think it's definitely happening. It's definitely just us. I think it's the fact that Dortmund... What was it the other day? They said, we want, 70 million plus 20 million add-ons, which kind of came out of nowhere. United, or was it 80 million? Sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me. But I think it's they're putting out these leaks to try and make that happen, to try and get as much money as possible out of it, which is just, for me, not going to happen. And United are going to stand off, and it's going to end up with a thing where we will sign him. It'll be after the Euros. He'll be wrecked, and it won't benefit anyone. Like, get the deal done. Get it done before the Euros. The same thing happened with Pogba in 2016, where it happened afterwards. You need to get these deals done before they go off and kick a ball anywhere else, and just so we don't have to think about it, don't have to worry about it. And also then we can look forward to the next transfer, because this for me is done, and it is happening this summer. I just want the other signing to come in as well. So if we're wasting our whole summer talking about Sancho, which is going to happen, it means we're not going to get the players that we desperately need as well.
No, I agree with you on that. I think that I don't think it's going to happen before the Euros. I never did. But I do agree with you that I would like it to get done early, because in that way you then can go, well, look, Sancho's already here. Let's go and get in July and August the CDM and the centre-back that we know that we need to get. But, that to me goes against United, though, for many reasons, and which is why I don't think it'll happen before the Euros, because they want Sancho holding up the new shirt that's not out till July. They also want this to drag out all summer, because then if they drag it out all summer, they don't have to buy anybody else.
Yeah. I think as well, Mark, with getting Sancho early and why it's such a huge benefit, and that last thing you said is what pissed me off the most. It is... We'll spend the whole summer talking about Sancho, which means the players we desperately need. We do desperately need Sancho, but we really need a hold midfielder. Argue about a centre-back, but I do think we do need one, but a hold midfielder definitely. And also with, what was my point on Sancho? It was... bollocks, it's gone from my mind, and it was a great point, and it was going to be made wonderfully. But if we get Sancho before the Euros, these other players that we're looking at will be more inclined to sign, because they're like, they've gotten Sancho. Yeah. There's a project happening here. I think I might actually choose United over a possible Chelsea or a possible whoever is else on the market, because they're buying world-class quality players who are ready-made to come in and actually challenge for everything. But if we wait, the longer we wait, these players that we're looking at will go, well, Chelsea just won the Champions League, Liverpool are on the way back up. Well, let's hope not. City, you're going to definitely win trophies at City. It's going to put people off. We get a deal like that done with Sancho early. Hopefully get Pogba signed to a new contract as well. We look like a club that will challenge. If we don't get that done, it's just another wasted window. Even if we get Sancho, it's still just a wasted window because we need more than just him.
I'll tell you what, I'm loving the passion from Joe. You can see it in his face. He's getting pumped up. This is what we want to see. Yankee says, "Hey, what's up, Mark? How's it hanging?" Well, that's none of your business, but I'm all right. I hope you're all right as well. But I do think that's a great point as well about Sancho. That if you get him in early, we know Pogba's contract in July is up for grabs. Well, if you've got if you've got Sancho in, and at the start of July you get Varane in, Pogba's like, maybe I do sign the contract, maybe I don't. So I think that's a great point. Anyway, let's get into the De Gea thing. So basically today, David De Gea has said, "Good luck, cheeky," or cheekwai. I can't pronounce it. I'm going to say, "Good luck, cheeky."
I do like that.
These are David De Gea's words on Twitter. "Good luck, cheeky. I wish you success, my friend. You deserve to be treated well in your new challenge. Enjoy." And that's in relation to Sergio Romero. Now, I was speaking about this morning, Joe, on the show. I said that Sergio Romero got released yesterday. He hasn't played all season. Lots of people like Romero as a backup goalkeeper. People really liked him. He's been treated badly. £4 million we've paid him to sit on his arse for a year. But David De Gea coming out and basically saying, "Fair play, good luck. You've been treated like shit. I hope they treat you better." That to me very much sounds like a goalkeeper that knows he's being kicked out as well.
I don't know, to be honest. I think everything is so thought out by media companies with every single tweet that goes up and every Instagram post that goes up that he could be saying one thing and meaning something else. I know he can't get a new contract or anything like that, but I think maybe he's like you said, dead on. People love Romero. Romero is a cult hero at United. We'll say probably not on the same level as Juan Mata of the new generation will say, but someone like that who, when he was brought in, always had a good game, very rarely made mistakes. With never the quality of De Gea, but never really let us down, and always just he looked great in those jerseys. So I think the fact that De Gea is putting this comment out is, I think he's trying to attach the love Romero has, and De Gea is hugely loved, not like that, but not exactly right now, considering in his last game he took completely wrong the amount of slack he took online, but he got a lot of slack. So with him attaching himself to Romero leaving in such a way to kind of support him like the fans support him, I think is trying to build up his own rep with the fans again, which he definitely doesn't have to do. But I think that's my way of looking at that. I think it's maybe more nuanced than just I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And but you know what? I do think that David De Gea came out after a game a couple of years ago as captain after Newcastle, and he had a proper go. He said it's not acceptable. And then he's never been captain again. Let me just catch up on these super chats and we'll come back to it. Sancho before the Euros is risky, says Daniel Kirk. What if he gets a leg break? Mark, why don't we go for Llorente from Atletico instead of Rice? His game is more physical and pace. Paul Conley. What I don't understand is if the Glazers and the board get it done early, then imagine a whole summer of marketing Sancho. All marketing, says YUFC. And pump up the jam, pump it up when the Joe is pumping, says Galactico Sabres. So you've got a fan already there, Joe. Galactic Sabres.
Back of the net.
He's old school, he is. He's there pumping it. He's pumping you up, Joe. I don't know. I mean, what he wants to do in his own time is up to him, but David De Gea, going back to that.
It's been a long lockdown. I'll take anything.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. Anyway, he's... I just think when David De Gea comes out and says, hopefully you'll get treated elsewhere, that is a bit of an up yours to United. And it doesn't really... It doesn't fill me with... I mean, I've heard that we're trying to sell De Gea anyway, which I think is a joke, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that to me, when David De Gea says, I hope you get treated better elsewhere, that is basically saying this club's a joke. And he's right. He is right, but I don't know what that means for his future.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't know what's going to happen.
Swap Lingard plus 30 million for Rice. Use Lukaku 45 million plus 40 million for Sancho. And finally swap Donny plus 10 for Varane. If Pogba decides to stay, this can be done. This was net spend. Will be 80 million, says Ronald Jacob. We always have these auditions for Director of Football in the live chat. But let's talk about De Gea and Henderson. Because I know you I'm very accusing here. You would keep... You would sell De Gea and keep Henderson. And I don't know why I'm pointing at you like that, because it's very rude, because actually there'll be a certain percentage of people in the live comments who agree. Also, there'll be a certain percentage of people who say sell De Gea, sell Henderson and get Donnarumma, or sell De Gea and Henderson and get Oblak. So I think there's probably three arguments here. There's keep De Gea and sell Henderson. Yeah. There's keep Henderson and sell De Gea, which is you. And then there's sell both of them and get somebody else. So, tell us. Come on.
To be honest, the interesting thing that you said there is the Donnarumma thing, because for me, I think, like, on a whole, okay, I'll go into the debate first of all, then we'll talk about that. For me, De Gea is on a decline. He's been on the decline since the World Cup in 2018. I think when he didn't get the move to Real Madrid, I think that spurred him to be the best that he possibly could be. And for 3 years, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. There's no doubting that in my mind whatsoever. And will Henderson ever reach those heights? I don't know. I don't know if he has it in his arsenal, but I do think he has the mentality and the will to try be the best in the world. And he's only, I can't remember, 23 or something like that. He's so young. And people say, goalkeepers can go on for till they're 40. You know, Van der Sar obviously played his last game, I think, when he was 41. But the game has changed, you know. And even for a goalkeeper, just standing there, you have to be far more physical than you ever were before. You have to be far more mobile. That the lifespan has dropped down to about, at your peak, we'll say your peak would be about 32, 33. And I just think with De Gea, with the position he's in being a goalkeeper, I think his mind is gone, if I'm being honest. His confidence, I think he is not going into the same game with that sense of, like, I am here, I am the gatekeeper of this club, I am the person to, like, literally, I am saving everything. I am dragging us to a top 4 position or to a trophy, which he did for so long, and no one can doubt that he was the best keeper in the world at that point. But since the 2018 World Cup, since he got humiliated with Spain, which was always a dream to be the first goalkeeper, he's not even the first choice anymore. I just think his time, since then, he's been on a steady decline. And the odd amazing game and stuff like that, where he has pulled out the bag, I respect that. But I just feel that where he's at now, I don't think there's any comeback for him. I don't think there's any, he's never going to get to the same level again. It doesn't necessarily have to get to that level again, but to even get close to it, I think with the most important thing for any goalkeeper is the confidence that you are, like, the best here, and you are going to save that. I think it's been rattled a good few times before. He's made so many silly mistakes. We've seen it time and time again. And Henderson has made mistakes too. I absolutely agree with that. But I feel he had a really strong spell for about 6 games prior to the Liverpool game where he was top class. And I just think he's also a more important keeper for the defenders we have because he marshals the back line. You know, himself and Maguire, I think a lot of mistakes that Lindelof and stuff are making wouldn't it's hard to know. You know, that's a kind of vapid comment to make, but they wouldn't happen if Henderson's in goals. But I feel like he controls more. He's stronger in the air, and he's stronger presence that De Gea is. And De Gea is better. He's a better shot stopper. He's better with the ball when the ball's at his feet and stuff like that. Absolutely. But I just feel at this moment in time, Henderson's on the ascendancy. Whether he'll get to the heights of De Gea, I don't know. But De Gea's decline he's not going to, I don't know what we expect. He's turning 31 this year. Do we expect him to get back to the heights? I don't think so. I'd be mad to expect that. While I think Henderson is going to get better, he is going to be England number 1. And I do think if we sell him, we have to use it for huge money. And this is what I was actually thinking. Donnarumma, for me, that is fascinating that he's on a free transfer, because I do think he is better than Henderson and he's better than De Gea. And I think if there was an argument to be made to getting him, I would look at that. But
it's interesting it's interesting to see the live chat that's trending at the moment, which is De Gea in and Joe out. But I'll come back. Carson Badley says, how much is Zane paying Joe for him to make content so supportive of Dean Henderson? At least he's using Mummy's credit card. I don't know what that's got to do with Zane. Even if De Gea is declining, he's still better than Henderson, says Bradley. What has Henderson done to be the number 1 choice? Will Harry Kane go to Man United, says Jason Meek? No. And David De Gea needs to be back, says SB. He's still a very good and has proved that he can do it in front of a full Old Trafford. He also saved us against Roma in the Europa League. Look, you know, I mean, me and Joe were joking about this before going live, that it's going to be a different opinion. There are people out there that want Henderson to be in goal, and I think Joe reflects that. And I don't disagree with the opinion that he has if you are pro Henderson. For me, to come back at that would be, look, 31 is no age for a goalkeeper. It's basically the equivalent of being 25 for an outfield player, because goalkeepers will go to 38. And I also think, more importantly, this season, Henderson's probably made more mistakes. That Liverpool game was, it's one of the worst. And then on the other hand, De Gea against Roma was one of the best. So I'm just like, for me, I don't want to get dragged into slagging Henderson off. I've never wanted to do that. But I am pro De Gea. So because I think Henderson will be our goalkeeper next year, and I think De Gea will be sold. So for me to sit here and go, oh, Henderson's load of shit, I think I'm doing a disservice to, and I think anybody in the chat is doing a disservice to Dean Henderson to start calling him a load of shit because you want De Gea.
Because he's not. But he's not like the thing is he's not a shit goalkeeper, and like at this moment in time, I do think they are level. Or like you could, I could even make the argument that De Gea might be a little bit better, just from experience, and for the fact that he can do like he did against Roma. I'm not discounting that whatsoever, but I'm talking about like if we sell De Gea, make a huge profit, get that wage bill off as well. And then we have Henderson for years to come, and then he develops into a goalkeeper of his own standing. Like,
are you not worried about with Henderson though? And look, this is a bit disrespectful, but I actually think Ben Foster's a very good goalkeeper. My problem with Dean Henderson is he had one good season at Sheffield United. It was very good, but it's very difficult to. It's different being a Sheffield United goaler as it is for Man United, because you're going to get low. It's a goalkeeper's dream, isn't it? You're playing in a crap side where you're going to get loads of saves. And we saw Henderson against Milan, where he had nothing to do, late corner, loses concentration, lets a goal in. Henderson is a good goalkeeper. He's not going to be bloody Massimo Tabisi or whatever his name was from all the years ago. He might be a Ben Foster, who is a very good goalkeeper, but he's not a Man United goalkeeper, and we don't know that. I respect you saying go with Henderson. I respect live chat going with Henderson. But if I'm Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and I'm a manager that's under the rate, I'm a little bit the scales of Ole up, in out. Is it a good decision from a manager to take a bit of a risk on Henderson or stick with a goalkeeper where everyone's going to go, really, if it goes wrong, he's sticking with a very experienced goalkeeper? I just don't think I think Ollie's making the bad decision, even though I don't disagree with you making the decision. I just think from Ollie's point of view, why take that risk? And also, you're going from De Gea and Romero to Henderson and Heaton. If Henderson does shit, you're relying on Heaton.
But I want to throw out the argument then for Donnarumma, because there's been no talk whatsoever. So I feel like whatever mind has been made up, it has been made up. And if De Gea is going, he's gone. If it's Henderson that's going, like I think whatever decision was made, it's after happening. But would you fall into a camp of Donnarumma, like looking at that as an option?
I automatically will be honest and say that. I mean, I'm automatically honest anyway. That's what I say to the wife. But I do think with Donnarumma, it's Riola. That's the thing that automatically, people say Gravenbach from Ajax, what a talent he is. And I go, it's Riola. Erling Haaland, Riola. I automatically have a negative against the player as soon as I know he's their agent. But let's take away that Riola's his agent. Donnarumma is very exciting. In fact, he reminds me of De Gea in the sense that he's a foreign goalkeeper. He's very young. He's very well thought of. I think Draughty was saying earlier that he's got a fantastic penalty save thing as well, if that's your thing. I mean, look, I don't know about you, Joe, and everyone else. I mean, Southpaw Sports says, for me, the hardest thing with Henderson is built on potential. There is proven commodity in De Gea. The devil you know is better than the devil one you don't, which is a fair point. No, but like if you're looking at De Gea from when he signed, like that, there is no mistake Henderson has made that can add up to the amount of shite, isn't it? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and like I do think De Gea was, and probably was seen at the time, which dead right. Like, don't forget, Fergie missed 3 games. I know it was a wedding, it was something else, and another family matter, and then it was to watch De Gea playing a game for Atletico Madrid. So I think he was very highly regarded. So I would be I wouldn't put them at the same level at the same age, but I think you have to invest in youth, and you have to invest in the fact that De Gea made a fuck ton of mistakes. And Henderson is allowed to do it at the age he is. He has a lot more Premier League games, and I feel he is a stronger presence going forward. And if it falls apart in 2 years' time, I just don't see De Gea being anywhere doing any better than he is now. I really think he is on the decline, and I think there's not going to be an explosion. I think we're looking at a Casillas, basically.
Well, it's very interesting to get the other side of the coin. As everyone knows, I'm very pro De Gea. Just to answer the Donnarumma thing, I do think that I suppose the thing for me is that I suppose the good point is, if Ollie says I'm selling De Gea, I don't think it's obvious. I think it's a risk. I think if he sells De Gea and Henderson doesn't do well, Ollie's next on the block. So you could almost say, well, if you're struggling between De Gea, if Henderson's either way, if Henderson's so bad, is De Gea clear? No. If De Gea's so bad, is Henderson clear? No. So maybe you get rid. If you can't decide between the two, maybe neither of them is good enough, and you go and get an Oblak or you go and get a Donnarumma, and that maybe is the solution. We will be reading your super chats, by the way. I just want to just wrap up this and talk about something else for a moment. But one of the super chats is, "Hi Mark, great show. I would keep De Gea over Henderson despite his drop of form. Plus Henderson looked dodgy in the last few games," says Barry O'Shea. "There's a rumour that Kieran Trippier has told his England teammates he's chosen Man United. How true is that?" says Kevin Emmanuel. "And what sense does it make to sell De Gea and get in another keeper, say Donnarumma? In 1 year we'll be all in the same situation. One of them has to go," says Akshay. I mean, I think that is true. I want to ask you about Trippier, Joe, but I think that is true. One of them does have to go this summer.
Yes, yeah, 100%. It's come down to it, and I was thinking it was going to be it was going to be De Gea that was going to go, considering that he was basically usurped him in the Premier League, and De Gea wasn't playing that much at all. But then in the last couple of games, it kind of changed around. The fact De Gea played in the Europa League final, I feel that it's closer to 50-50, but I do think it's going to be De Gea it's going to go. And I don't think it's not even just a factor of his talent, like whether you feel he's declining or not, but for the fact that his wages are fucking massive. And a goalkeeper to be on that wage is insane. Especially
the thing is, I've said this before. I mean, Bradley Clout, funnily enough, says it's so funny that this is being discussed. This goalkeeper problem was created by our incompetent board. This should not even be an issue, and I agree with that. And I think that's absolutely spot on what you're saying, Bradley. And I think it's absolutely spot on what Joe said. I said it a few weeks ago. Ultimately, I don't think this is about who's the better goalkeeper. I think this is a business decision. I think this is Glazeronomics again. I think this is one goalkeeper's on 140k a week and one's on 375k. And actually, you know, will we be massively worse if we get rid of De Gea? Probably not. So, and I think that's what it's about. And that's not right. That's not the right reason for it. But I think that's what it is. They're like, well, it's a money. It's not. I don't think it's about who's better. I think it's about who's cheaper. And that's typical United. Although Sarri says it's as if Ollie wants an English 11. Well, just, you know, we spoke about Sancho, Joe. Trippier, as the previous chat said there. Henderson would be in goal. Trippier right back. You'd have potentially, you know, an all-English back five, apart from the centre-back who plays with Harry Maguire. Is that how you win a Champions League in the Premier League, by having an all-English back five? Is Ollie a bit is Ollie a bit Brexit FC?
Well, I would say, if England, you know, can't win a World Cup or a European Championship with an all-English back line, I don't think United have a much chance of doing the same thing. But, like, you know, you could say it helps with communication, the fact they all speak fluently the same language. I know Lindelof, obviously, like, I'm in Sweden at the moment, everyone here has better English than me, so Lindelof is the same.
I was going to say that most foreign people can speak better than a lot of Scousers in English.
Yeah.
I can understand, but it's true. Like, there's certain areas of the country, and I picked on Scousers there, but Newcastle's another one. Somerset's another one. I mean, some people might. You're not, and I must make this very, very clear. Having lived in Ireland for 3 years, Ireland has got nothing to do with the UK or Britain.
Yes.
It's its own country. But I'm sure people probably struggle with Joe's accent a little bit as well, like the Scouse accent. So this whole, you know, you need to be English communication. I'm telling you now. People abroad can speak better English than some people can in England. I'm telling
100%. Yeah. I don't think there's any factor in, like, an all-English thing. I think it's always better to have, I guess, from, you know, the one place maybe coming up together. But, like, I don't think it's a huge factor in Ollie's mind that they all have to be English, considering he's Norwegian. So I don't think that really matters to him.
I think Kieran Trippier would be a good sign, and I don't know what your thoughts are. We do need a backup right back.
100%, yeah. I've always kind of admired him, bar him scoring in the semi-final of the World Cup, but luckily that didn't work out great for you guys, so that was fine. I've always found him very functional, very very good, very very well respected, and like, again, not starting right back, but supporting right back. And Wan-Bissaka can't. Well, look, I think Wan-Bissaka is a fantastic right back, especially defensively. I genuinely don't think there's a better defensive right back in world football, if I'm being honest, or he's at least top three. Going forward, he needs to work on, but he's doing that. And I feel like having Trippier there as a backup is fantastic, and he's also someone that Wan-Bissaka can learn off. So I think it's a huge plus to get him in. And also, I don't think the transfer fee is going to be very big. So yeah, I think it's a win-win across the board. I really do.
I'll tell you what, I like that because I don't think Wan-Bissaka gets enough praise. Yeah. I think he did have a very inconsistent season last year, but it's nice for that to be reaffirmed that, you know, when he's on his game defensively, very, very few players get past him.
Absolutely. There's no one. For me, he is on his game, on his peak. And the fact, I don't understand why he hasn't been capped for England, or even, I don't even think he's been called up to a squad. That for me is mind-boggling. And he can put them, like, I understand there would be a fight and maybe he shouldn't be starting right back, but to not be even in squads, I think is a joke. I personally think that's okay.
Joe, we took 4 right backs, right? You've probably got more chance of being called up as an English right back than Aaron Wan-Bissaka under Southgate.
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But it's true though. I don't understand it. I really, really don't. Like, okay, his attacking play isn't fantastic, but like he is top quality on his day, and I don't understand. I personally think it's because there's every chance he's Congolese, isn't he? As well, I think they're worried that the same thing might happen with Saha, where he decided to play for the Ivory Coast and maybe it didn't look great for the national team. I'm not sure, but I think it's something like that. But I personally think how he's not in that squad ahead of those lads doesn't make sense to me. He should be up there.
I agree. But look, another English player that we've been linked to, and I got told this on the show last night. Now, I'm only mentioning Harry Winks. I'm not doing it to depress anybody on a Saturday night, but I'm only mentioning Harry Winks because the story was last night that this was 100% legitimate, that Manchester United had inquired after Harry Winks. Now, in my defence, I did say 18 months ago that I quite liked Harry Winks, but 18 months is quite a long time.
No.
But the Manchester Evening News have apparently, and this is good and bad maybe for you, Joe, and everyone else, but the Manchester Evening News have come out and said that they've spoken to a source who has said that don't read anything into the Harry Winks rumours. However, United are focused on a centre-back, a right-back and a right winger. No midfielders. So that's bad and good news, potentially.
Oh my God, why do they do this? Why do they always just try to break my heart? Like the one position I want covered, like over pretty much anything else, is at CDM. I need McFred to fuck off, all right? At least one of them. I don't mean like fuck off the club. Just sit on the bench and we'll call you when we get fucking Cheltenham Town in the League Cup and you can have a go then. But it's so ultimately frustrating, and this is what annoys me about Ollie, is the fact that he's just holding fast with that. Yes, we need a centre-back. Yes, we need a right-back, an alternative to Wan-Bissaka, as he said. Yes, we absolutely need Jadon Sancho. But we need a home midfielder to allow Pogba and Bruno, and hopefully Donny at some point to come in as well, to actually be able to play football in their natural positions. And you're basically getting 2 players to try and make them be one with McFred. And Bet doesn't get enough credit for coining that phrase as well. But it's so frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating. I still don't want Harry Winks. You know, I don't want him, but we need someone, and I'm losing it with that. Fucking McFred again.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I would take Harry Winks over nobody. And it's funny though, because I was told. I mean, I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, I was told that the Manchester United are prioritising midfielder, but I've also been told we're not. So, you know, where does that leave you? It leaves you in that uncertain area. But look, if we get Sancho and we get a decent centre-back and we get Trippier, where is that a good summer for you? Do you think that's enough to start challenging for titles?
No, I really don't. I really, really don't, because I might be one of the few who don't think we're as desperate at the back as we're made out to be. I think Lindelof is soft. I think Bailly is rash, but and injury prone. I think Tuanzebe is getting a lot of slack. I think he's had a couple of bad games, a young lad. But I think there is, it's hard to say title winning, but with Maguire, with someone else, with a CDM sitting in front of them, sweeping things up, like if we had Prime Matic, as a lot of people say, but that's not going to happen. Like, I think there's a lot less incidents going to happen than Big Fred sitting up there. I think like Fred is a walking time bomb. Like Noah's like he can't assist, he can't score, he can't pass. He's literally there just to break up, get at people's ankles, and that's fine. But you know who was great at that as well? Ander Herrera. But he could also pass the ball and inspire players and get the ball from one end of the pitch to the other, and was actually a good footballer. And then we lost him on a fucking free transfer. So I think we desperately need someone. In CDM, I would put CDM ahead of centre back. Now, I would be happy if we got Varane, if we got Trippier, if we got Sancho. I'd be like, that's fine. But for me, it's not where the huge gaping hole is, because if we get someone in there to sit behind them, everything will open up around, that can actually play football. I like McTominay. I'm a big fan of him, and the fact that he came from the youth, the fact that he turned down England to play for Scotland, I'm like, that's super cool. And I do think he's a very, very good player. And
whoa. He didn't turn down England to play for Scotland.
He did.
He would know.
He did.
Look, I'll tell you what.
No.
Southgate might be a prat, but he ain't that big a prat. There's no way Scott McTominay would get anywhere near an England squad.
I guarantee you, on the form
Actually, he probably would with Southgate. He is the English Ollie.
Yes,
so he probably would. Yeah.
I'm just saying, and he made the decision at 23. It was one he always wanted to do, and fair play to my Celtic cousins for getting a good one, and I love him for that. But he's not. We'll see how the years progress with him. I think Fred is fine. I think he has times where he's excellent at what he does, but I just think his ceiling is so small. Because he's a short guy. That's an easy joke to make. But I just think we need someone in there desperately, and Ollie holding on to that is something. It's as frustrating to me as his lack of making substitutions. We need creativity. We need someone who can play football, and we're not getting that with those two boys. Even though I really do see a lot of potential in McTominay, and so does Alex Ferguson. So take that.
I think international football was so hard to read. I mean, I'm looking at your Irish top, and I remember when they were good, and I think Cheltenham Town had beat you now. But I think that
we beat Andorra. We beat Andorra 4-1. Okay, we are officially the greatest football nation in the world again. Okay.
Are you actually playing anybody who's playing in the Euros, or are you just playing all the shit teams that are all together?
I don't actually know. I can't remember who we have next. I think we have Hungary next, and they're in the Euros.
They're in the Euros. So
they're in the Euros.
That could be a fake Euros game, so you can pretend that's the Euros. But no, I mean, I'd love Ireland to do well. I've got fond memories of living there, and fond memories of the '94 World Cup, as I was on about the other day. But I think I was just about to say then, if McTominay's good enough to get in the England squad, that means you've got to say Fred's good enough to get in the England squad. But Fred played for Brazil yesterday, so I can't really say that. It's like, well, what football? It's weird. It's weird.
It is so weird. I could not believe that. It was on Twitter. Fred called up the Brazilian squad, and I was like, how? I won't lie. I haven't been keeping up with Brazilian football or the national team. I listen to Tim Vickery whenever he's been interviewed because I think the man's a genius. Yeah. And I get the updates there. But how far have they fallen? If the man, who's the manager of Brazil at the moment? It's always someone with a funny name.
But he's find out in the World Cup.
Yeah, that's right. But is he looking at Man United and going, that's the player we need. We need Fred back. That'll get us the Copa America. That'll get us the World Cup. It's like, how desperate are things? How desperate are they?
Apparently they were trying to bring Dunga out of retirement, but he said, I've just got a knee replacement being done. He couldn't do it. Sacking says,
just desperate.
I don't want Harry Winks, but I would definitely take him over McFred. 25 million for Winks. Why not pay 5 million more and get Basuma? Højbjerg may be a better option.
I don't think anyone's getting Basuma.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but is the negativity around Winks the same that surrounded the Carrick transfer? Says Brian, no. And Kelvin Phillips from Leeds over Winks. Winks is not good enough. I don't want to hear Ollie say Winky played well today. No Winky, please. Says Kelvin.
Can I go back to that? How dare you compare Harry Winks to Michael Carrick? Michael Carrick was a starting for Spurs week in, week out, was controlling that midfield, was in the England squad, was a hot prospect. I think the only reason there was a big issue about Carrick coming was the fact that he got the number 16 jersey after Roy Keane, and he was seen as, well, he doesn't, he's not a Roy Keane. He's playing football. He's throwing long balls. What's this? Why isn't he kicking the shit out of players? Why isn't he injured in Alfie Haaland? This is coming from a man who adores Roy Keane, by the way. I think that's just an inane comment, and fair play to you for having thoughts, but just make them better next time, please.
It's all about opinion on this show, Joe. Although I do, nice to ridicule them as well. That will be appreciated. Are we getting Delo back that way we focus on CDM, says Mainek? Actually, I just need to catch up on some super chats here because Andy and Bruno says, I think Trippier, if we get him, won't take long before he takes Wan-Bissaka's place. And South Pole of Sports says, Joe, I've got to say at this point, Ollie is Norwenglish. And Sari says, it's as if we have caught up quite quickly there. Thanks for the super chats. Are we getting Delo back? That was focus on I don't want to talk about Delo. I don't want to talk.
What's the point? What do you? No, okay. Now I'm going to ask you.
Pereira. Should we talk about Pereira as well? I mean, we're that bored. I'd rather talk about ham sandwiches or something boring like that. No interested in Delo or Pereira.
I do love a good ham and cheese panini, to be honest. If we can talk about that, I'm a big fan. And I haven't found one yet in Sweden. If anyone from Sweden is watching this, tell me where to get it, especially Stockholm, where I can get a good ham and cheese panini, please, because I'm a big fan of them.
Trippier is too good for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. There's a lot of people thinking that. I mean, just let's go back. Trippier probably will be England's starting right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd come in as Manchester United's backup right back. Do you think? Tellez came in, Luke Shaw got better, and that's what everyone thinks. But I mean, you might get a situation where Trippier comes in and actually does take Wan-Bissaka's spot. Some people don't like his positional sense, etc.
Yeah, I would think. Look, every player's open to be taken down. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think you've said before about the only player who seemed to falter when he's put up against competition is the wonderful Tony Martial. So I think 9 times out of 10, even nine times out of 100, if a player is put under pressure for his position, that player is like, I need to perform week in, week out. It's like, look at Luke Shaw. We saw the Luke Shaw from prior to the injury this season, and long may it continue. He's absolutely world class, and especially when Mourinho is managing him as well, he tends to just be a good player. So I think there's every opportunity, and like if Trippier had taken his spot, that means Trippier is bringing something to the team that Wan-Bissaka isn't at that moment, and that means we'll play better. So absolutely, everyone's open to be taken down. Could happen. I don't think it will, but if it does, I guess it just means progress. So it can't be the worst thing in the world.
I think you're right. I think that Tellez thing. Some people want to say, "Oh, it's a bad season for Tellez," but it's been an elite season for Luke Shaw. Would it have been the same if he'd have had Brandon Williams behind him, who just doesn't seem to be able to get a game at all? You mentioned Martial there. We haven't mentioned Martial for a while. What? Is he a player that's on the list to go this summer? I mean, there's a lot of business to do if you're going to sell Martial as well.
Yeah, I don't see him going. I think the only way he'll go is if, like you were discussing a few weeks ago, if Harry Kane is coming, it'd be like Martial and Lingard would be on the way out, that sort of thing, to make that deal happen. Because I know someone said, I think it was Fabrizio Romano said, like, the future of football is swap deals, especially in this market. So as a make weight, if that's the right phrase, I think that's the only reason Martial will go this season. It's not going to happen. I'm just about have the door closed on Martial. I don't understand Martial FC. I really, really don't, because he's never been. I'm going to
start rocking my chair again. I was rocking my chair when you were speaking badly about De Gea. Now I'm rocking my chair because you're speaking bad about Martial. But carry on.
But like, he's never been consistent. He's never been. Like, we had 6 months of them at the end of, when I say last season, I mean the season before, of like last season, where we saw the player that was always supposed to be destined to be. We saw it when he first signed, when he got 17 goals, that this is a huge talent. And then, you can blame managers, you can say whatever, that he wasn't being, and injuries and stuff like that. But if manager isn't playing them, they're not doing what the manager wants. And like, how many teams in world football will he walk into now? Especially as a fucking number 9. And I do hope we hold on to him.
I don't think he can walk much at the moment because he's got an injury, hasn't he? So.
That was an easy one, Mark, and you know it.
Oh, I'll take it.
And you take it every fucking time. But like, I think it's good to have going into the new season. Cavani's 33. I think he's our top man. Absolutely, I'm a big fan of that. And then Greenwood is huge amount of potential that can learn off Cavani. Fantastic. And then you have Martial as well, fighting for the one position. I think that's fantastic, okay? But this I don't think it's going to happen this summer unless it is a make-weight for someone else. But I think over the course of next season, we're going to learn everything we need to know about him. And if he doesn't come together, if it doesn't happen, if he doesn't get his head out of his fucking arse and we become the player that we know he can be, then it's just done. It is done. I was saying over last season that I was kind of tepid on it. I was like, if he doesn't, because I remember people going mad. I remember Paul Scholes came out and said he needs to be consistent. And people are like, what do you mean be consistent? He was our top goal scorer last season. Show faith in him. Stop being a crap pundit. And he's like, and he was dead right, because he wasn't consistent after that. So we couldn't get the fact that Cavani came in stirred it for him, and he couldn't compete with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he couldn't compete with Lukaku, and he couldn't compete with Cavani. So if he can't do it this season, it's just sayonara for me. I don't understand what he can do.
Ronald Jacob says, this new guy, which is Joe, needs to be on a video with old man, which I think could be Jay or Ricky, probably Ricky. Yeah. Martial FC is done here, should be sold when he's worth something. Cavani is outperforming him. And, we've spoken about De Gea and Henderson and we disagree. And we're speaking about Martial and we disagree. But I think there's more people actually on your side on this one, which is where I become the bad guy. Because Martial's a player that's always got me on the edge of my seat. You know when you finish a sentence but you're reading a live chat, and I'm so glad that I lost concentration in my sentence, that Martial's always the guy who and then I lost concentration, but still finished with it. Got me on the edge of the seat because I could have said anything there because I wasn't actually thinking. But he did get me on the edge of the seat. But I did say it a few weeks ago. What's happened this season for me with Martial is that he hasn't played well, and I will never protect a player, even if it's one of my favourites. At the start of the season, he was number one, and this season, Cavani's number one. So for me, it's up to Anthony Martial. If he wants to stay and fight, he's going to have to fight to get his place back. If he wants to do that, he's earned that right for me. If he doesn't want to stay and fight because he thinks he should be number one, then he's going to have to knock on the door and say he wants to go. And that's where I am with Martial. I do think he's a great player. Yeah. But I wonder how you go from Player of the Year, and I'm talking about Van Gaal season, Player of the Year, Mourinho takes your number 9 shirt, which he shouldn't have done, and he plays crap. No. And then a year ago, he's Player of the Year. Cavani comes in, and he plays crap. And there's got to be a question mark about... And I do agree with him. You know, your Player of the Year, Cavani comes in. Your number 9, you've had Player of the Year, he takes your shirt off you. He probably has been treated a bit badly. But when you some people get treated badly and they get angry. He needs to become Tony the Tiger.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But it's... And look, I don't read into the body language shit, whatever. People, when they're angry, when they're upset, when they're happy, they all hold it differently in their bodies. So I don't... Look, it annoys me how he holds himself, but I don't read into it. Do you know what I mean? But absolutely, it's so fucking frustrating. And for me, I could tell it a mile off because I'm a genius. That it was going to be a struggle this season for him, because when someone comes in to take his position, he just can't deal with it. Like I was just saying. So this is it. This is last chance saloon. If he doesn't have, I'm not even saying have an equal season of when he was a top goal scorer, 1 Player of the Year, but he needs to get into double figures of scoring goals. He needs to assist in more. He needs to be putting away chances that are the PSG one frustrates me so much, but there's plenty of moments you can go to where his head is gone. And it's the same with De Gea. When a player head is gone, it's so hard to get it back. Whether his head is out the door or whether it's just confidence is so low, he needs to get his act together. And I fear from this summer, not this summer, but this year. But look, he just needs to pull out of the bag, and that's it. There's no more, and we're in agreement on it. Like there is huge potential in it. I absolutely see it, but I think I'm just not optimistic that it's going to work out. But he can.
Andy and Bruno says, "Do you really think our club is really competent enough to get even half the deals done?" Don't think they are. And relax, it's just one season. You could make the argument with Rashford. He's been worse. Martial is special and does much more score goals than we miss him.
Can I disagree with that, if that's okay?
I was gonna ask you about Rashford, because we had a caller on last night who made a great point about Rashford. He basically said it's almost like you're villainised if you criticise him, because everything he does off the pitch is fantastic, but everything off the pitch is great, but on the pitch he just hasn't been good enough for 6 months, and he has probably been injured as well. But it's almost like you can't criticise the lad.
I don't think that's fair at all. I think the only thing what annoys me is when people say stop feeding kids, concentrate on football. That's like, I personally, if it comes to a child's life at my football club, I'm like, I don't give a shit if we're relegated, to save people's lives. I don't think it's affecting his game. I don't think that's a part of it whatsoever, because I don't think it takes up as much of his time as we believe it to do. Because I think majority of footballers have a life outside of sport. People have, like, Raheem Sterling has started an agency. There's people with record deals and all these sort of things. People are doing loads of stuff outside of football. It's just not as publicized because Rashford is literally saving the fucking world. So if people come up with a thing of going, well, stop feeding kids, do this, that's when it pisses me off. But I think it's just he's carrying injuries. He's just needs a rest. I wish he didn't go to the Euros. I don't want any Man United player to go to the Euros unless they play for Ireland, which isn't going to happen. But with Rashford, I think he is still racking up amazing numbers. He's still getting assists. He's still getting goals without playing well. We all know what it's like when he's at his best. I think he needs a break for a month, whatever it is, to just heal up. And then when he's back, I think he's 23, which people seem to forget, but I just feel there's more to his game than Martial. But like Rashford, if Rashford went on sale right now, I think nearly every club in the world would want him. If Martial is on sale now, I really don't. I think Spurs will probably go for him. That's the only people that for as long as he's been linked with other clubs, it's always been Spurs. Barcelona, Real Madrid get linked with Rashford once in a blue moon when something is said or whatever. But like with Martial, it's just never been the case. So I I think Rashford is just a better player, better all-round player. I think, like you said, Martial is a very exciting player when his wings are up, whatever you want to call it. But I just think Rashford all-round and consistently at his age is just next level.
Nasra said Ahmed is too talented. I hope we see more next season. Yeah, I mean, Joe's probably not aware about this because I was just reading the chat while he was talking. A madness is now in the chat because there is a goal that you can find on Twitter if you type in Amad Diallo, a 96th minute. So 96th minute winner, not a 96th minute, for Amad Diallo for Ivory Coast. And it is good. I mean, the angles... It's one of those angles where you think he's whizzing it in the top corner. I think he does. It looks very, very good. But absolutely fantastic free kick from Ahmed, who needs to be given more game time next season. I think he's absolutely essential to Manchester United. And I think we have got a very good player there. But
I always forget about him.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. We've spoken about quite a few things today. I do want to get your opinion on, and somebody just said that, have you heard about the Build article on Sancho? We opened up with that. So Build are saying that Jadon Sancho is a possibility to Manchester United, but at this point there's been no discussions between the teams, which actually flies in the face of what was being said by some British outlets yesterday. So I'm still very confident we'll get Jadon Sancho. I'm not confident it's going to happen before the Euros, but a lot of people are, so we'll see what happens next week. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Joe. This is, we've had quite a few divisive comments, topics. We've had Henderson, De Gea, we've had Martial, we've had Rashford. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, new contract's probably going to get given out at some point over the next few weeks. Where do you sit on Ole? Because there's a lot of people in our chat who are Ole out. There's a lot of people who are like, well, no, you've got to give him another year. I'm an Ole doubter. I mean, I would definitely give him another year, but do I think he's the man to win the title? Well, not unless he gets given the transfers he needs. And even then, I think that's when you judge him. If he gets Varane, Sancho and a top-class midfielder, then I would say there's no excuse. You've got to go and challenge for a title, and if you don't, you're not good enough. But where do you sit on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Honestly, Mark, I'd be on the finally we come to an actual agreement, because I would be on the same level as you in that. I do believe in him. I do believe we have made progress, and he has not been given the players that he's asked for. Like he was promised with last season, again when we beat Leicester to get top four, he was told, you can get these players now because you got top four. Didn't happen. We got Cavani, who was injured. We got Donny, who I still don't know who bought him. I still hope he comes good. I still have a lot of faith in that. And who else did we get? It was basically no starters anyway, and not any player that he was after. So from that season, with the players he got, we came second, especially after having no preseason, losing 3 games in the first 5, whatever it was. This amazing away record, The only thing that's fallen apart in us is that at the back sometimes we lose concentration, letting silly goals. We're not putting away chances that we should be. We're not creating much in the box. If we had Sancho, it's a different story. This last season just gone. I would completely agree with you on. I don't feel we can judge him properly until he gets the players that he wants. And I mean, like, not just a Sancho, because the Sancho should have been a transfer from last season. It should be a Sancho, it should be a Varane, it should be whoever else we're getting. The 3 or 4 players that he wants, that he's been fighting for. And then if he can't make it work, then I'm not saying working, absolutely win the title. But if we're not within, the last 2 games in the season, like still in the hunt for it, that's an issue. If we're fighting top 4 next season, that will be an issue. If we're not holding a trophy next season, that's another huge thing. So I think he needs a trophy. I need him to win a trophy just from my undying love for him as a player and the man that he is. And it frustrates me so much that we didn't get that the other week. But I do think if he's back properly, it's going to come good. I think he's one of the best man managers around. I think tactically he needs to get his head together, but he is getting better. Once we get rid of McFred, once he starts making subs a bit earlier, and the fact that if he gets Pogba to sign a new contract, I think that's how much faith the players have in him, because I do think the players love him. So that's I think there's a lot. I don't think we can accurately judge him. I think we can give him more credit for what he's achieved this season than really take it away, than really just look at the negatives over like losing the final and only coming second, whatever we went to look at it. For not getting the players he wanted, for dealing with the first few games of the season, I think it's genuinely wonderful the job he's done at times, but he needs to be backed.
I think you're right. I think he needs to get his head out of his arse, though, in relation to his tactics. I've always felt this, and I think people in the chat will be going Ollie out, and some of them are going Ollie in, and I get that. But I do think that with Ollie, he surrounds himself with mates, and that's what bothers me, is that you mentioned those goals that we concede, and they're preventable goals. Like, there's so many of them, and just, we're making the same mistakes at the start of the season that we are at the end of the season, and that's like, if I can see that, and you can see that, and the chat can see that, why can't a manager who's got access to everything he wants at Man United, big screens with drawery pens on and everything, I ain't got one of those, but I can tell you that, Wan-Bissaka's getting too close to Lindelof, or, we're not marking up on a cross, which we didn't in the final, and that basically cost us the game, that lack of marking. So I think Solskjaer's got lots of positives to him, like you said there, and I'm not an Ollie outer. I do think that his coaching staff around him, probably, I agree with people that somewhere in there are people who aren't good enough. And,
yes,
but I don't think he's going to get rid of them, and so they've got to get better quicker.
That's a spot on at that point. I know that someone put a post on saying Rui Ferreira is free, but I just don't see him go. But it depends if he had a fallout with Mourinho or however that ended. Maybe approaching him, but I just feel like they want to keep it in-house. They want to keep it with people who know the club. Like, obviously, Kieran McKenna was there years ago.
Well, they're all young as well. They're all a work in progress. It's not like Ollie, Sir Alex used to change them all the time, didn't he? Mullenstein, McLaren, Brian Kidd, Queiroz. He'd change them every few years. But it's like all them mates were growing together. And, mates rates don't work if you want to be the best.
But then you have, like, Mike Phelan, who was great at the beginning. And I don't really understand what his role is now. I think it's very somewhat muddled, and I think there needs to be a fresh outside face who can come in and kind of shake things up, because if it's the same voice at the same time the whole time, there's no fresh ideas. That's why it'll just, instead of like exploring, they'll just double down on what they have decided collectively is the way to put the club forward. When someone coming in with a different background can kind of go, well, maybe this isn't working, we can try this, and coaching stuff. So I think there's a lot there. I would agree hugely on the backroom staff. But the problem is, it's easy kind of look at the manager decisions he makes. So it's hard to know which coach is the problem, because that's kind of the unclearest part of this game. Everyone can have an opinion if a player's playing well, but it's hard to know. So it's a bit easier to know if a manager is having a good game. But like with the coaching staff, we don't know who's just sitting there and living off their name. So
Ryan Benton says, have you seen Man United monitoring Ramos as he's certain to leave? I haven't seen that. And Chubba says, I can almost guarantee that, like the last 2 years, the fan base will be divided on Ollie, even if he gets all the players he wants and doesn't do well next season, says Chubba. There was a comment from Kevin Emmanuel saying the thing about Rashford is he playing badly because he's injured, or are the injuries an excuse to the fact that he's playing badly? Well, we don't know that. I personally think it's because of the injuries. But I think that let's take a moment to laugh at Arsenal. Bendia's chosen Villa. There's always a moment to laugh at Arsenal. I mean, I only found that out this afternoon, that Bendia has chosen, Bendia from Norwich has chosen Villa over Arsenal. But actually, is that a laughing moment, really? I mean, Arsenal are a club that is consistently mid-table now. So, Villa might be a team that's perceived to be... I'll tell you what, if Villa hadn't lost Grealish for 2 months, I think they would have been probably, maybe sixth. They were doing quite well.
Yeah, there's every possibility. Like, they definitely, there's a lot more potential in Villa right now than there is in Arsenal. Completely. So, especially Grealish. It depends where Grealish goes next. If he leaves, I don't know what's happening there.
Bradley says, Ollie can coach France and won't win anything. He can have the players, but he has mediocre tactics. He plays on the counter-attack, hence the away record. Which is exactly why I think we're both saying we want him to have the players. Because if he hasn't got the players, he's always got the excuse. Give him the players, and then if he's not good enough, then that can go. But just going back to the coaches, what you were saying, Joe, my theory is that the problem is the defensive coach, whoever that is. And some people say it's McKenna. I don't know who the defensive coach is. It's only the live chat and other people who've said to me it's McKenna. And now people will say, well, it's not just the defensive coach because we can't break down a low block. But actually, if we had the defensive side sorted, we'd be able to break down the low block. I think we don't break a low block down because we're protecting with McFred and McTominay, the centre-backs. But if you had a decent defensive setup, you wouldn't be overprotective of your defence. Therefore, you'd have more numbers to break a lower block. So I actually think, even I said it at the end of the season when I was angry after the Villarreal game, We can't defend crosses. We can't pick up the second ball. We don't mark people in the box, and we can't break a low block. And it makes it sound like the whole coaching setup's bad. I don't think the whole coaching setup's bad. I just think the defensive coaching is so bad.
Yeah.
It affects everything else.
I agree. I think you need a strong backline to win anything. You know, you can't concede goals and just expect to always score them. So I think I do think, before you even said it was McKenna, I do think it is McKenna that is in charge of that, and that desperately needs to be looked at. And if that is, and if that the thing is, they say Varane is the person to do that, and if that's what changes everything, I'm like, absolutely go for it.
Is he your dream centre-back, Joe? I mean, I'm not asking you that. Who is the centre-back, not dream, but, out of everyone we're linked to, Pau Torres, Koulibaly, Botman, Varane, Ben White, Tyrone Mings, Koundé. Who would you go
don't
for?
say Tyrone Mings. Do never say Tyrone Mings in my presence again. I think I'd really like Pau Torres. Like kind of watching Villarreal, obviously against us, and watching them kind of in the research of that game as well. And I'm like, there's a lot to that player. Varane has been talked about so much. He's obviously a proven winner. But there's my concern that he's so good because he's beside Sergio Ramos. That's a concern for me as well. If you're going by reputation, you have to say Varane. And to be fair, if it's 40 million, that is a steal in this market. So if you're going for 40 million for Varane, I would absolutely do it. If it's around the same price for Pau Torres, I'd be looking there as well. If we got either of them, it's hard for me to really choose, but I think I'd go for Pau Torres.
Ooh, so Pau Torres for Joe. Again, there'll be a lot of people who agree with you on that. Varane was the one for me, to be fair, but I've always said that. We will sadly never be back to winning ways with Ollie and the boys as coaches, says Killian. Although it's not deserved, we need a new manager and coaches to challenge. And I said, look, I don't disagree with that. I think, a club, it's not my decision. As a fan, I believe that Ollie's done enough to get next year, and I do believe that. But if an owner came in and said, we're going to be ruthless like Real Madrid or Chelsea, we don't believe in you, we're going to go and get Conte and Zidane while they're available, I said it when Lampard got sacked by Chelsea. I said, well, I don't agree with that. I think it should be given till the end of the season. And then Tuchel comes in, gets in top four and wins the Champions League. I'm wrong. Yeah. It can happen. I am wrong. So look, I wouldn't get rid of Ollie, but it doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean a ruthless owner couldn't come in and say, look, this is a chance to pick between two really good managers. United will never do it, but I'm not saying it wouldn't be the wrong thing. I just wouldn't do it. I don't know about you, Joe. Zidane and Conte. Would you be ruthless and do it, or do you think it's wrong to do it?
I'd be ruthless. Oh God! Like, part of me is like, no, I wouldn't. I think see out the project. We've got someone who wants to be at the club for 20, 30 years, make them the best they possibly can be. But like, Conte is just fucking deadly. Like, just as a man and as a manager, I just love his enthusiasm. I love his ego. I'm a huge fan of him. Not so much a big fan of the football, but it brings success. And he's like a Mourinho that I can get on board with, because I can't stand Mourinho. So I would go with Conte. And it's so funny with Zidane that the boat is still out on him, on how good of a manager he is, considering he's won 2 leagues, 3 Champions Leagues, a couple of Copa del Rey. I don't know. It's for Conte. I'd be more ruthless if it came down to that. If I had to, I'd say I'd go for that for Conte. I don't know if I go for it for Zidane. Zidane will win you a cup competition, I'd say, because he seems to be an expert on it. But Conte is he's just so charismatic as well. It'd just be great to have him on the touchline. But still, I feel like the Ole project is the way to go for the time being, anyway.
Ronald Jacob says, we've got Conte, Zidane and Nuno available right now. What if we give Ollie another year and these coaches get a job? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about Nuno, Ronald. You started a sentence off really well and then ruined it with Nuno. I don't want Nuno anywhere near Man United. But yeah, this seems to happen with United. When we need a manager, there's not many available. And then when we don't need a manager, everyone becomes available. It's the same when Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Klopp had already committed, I think. Mourinho had committed. Ancelotti had already committed.
No, I think Mourinho had been sacked by Real Madrid, because I remember Mourinho said that Ferguson.
Yeah, he committed to Chelsea, though, hadn't he? He was going.
No, he didn't. He didn't. No, because Ferguson rang him and told him that the job had gone to Moyes, and he apparently had a tantrum and was like, "He's not won anything."
That's when we should have got Mourinho. Then
that is when we should have got Mourinho. Yeah. I completely agree with that. He would have kept it going. He would have kept the elite mentality, because we had the players who would have won everything. I don't know how it would have gone from there, but I feel if we had Mourinho at that one time,
he was still good.
He was still good then. He wasn't broken, and then we got the wreck. Oh, sorry, it the club has just run so badly, to the shock of no one. Every managerial appointment, but say aside from Ollie, has just been wrong, and like it was either at the wrong time or just a bad decision. Like you will never convince me Van Gaal should have ever been appointed ever. You know, it's like absolute joke. And Mourinho at the wrong time is like Mourinho was sacked from Chelsea after bringing on 10. Why would you think that would do anything with us? I realise, look, he got us a League Cup and he got us a Europa League, and thanks for that. But did we not think at any point that it was going to get better? Like he doesn't last 3 years at a team, and it becomes toxic. It was just desperation, and it was sorry.
At least with Mourinho, we if Spurs, I just don't understand why they did it. Ollie is learning on the job. Can someone sum up what he's learned? Then I will give you an even longer list with points that he's not learned, says Tabras. Well, look, we've overrun a little bit anyway, so we'll wrap up the show there. But I just want to say big thanks to everyone in the chat as per usual. But absolutely loved having Joe on. It's been absolutely fantastic. Lots of differing opinions, which is what it should be all about. Have you enjoyed it, Joe?
I'm having a time in my life. There's literally nothing more I enjoy than talking about United, even though it does make me miserable at times. But especially with yourself and with everyone being so wonderful in the chat, and just having a laugh and having a bit of banter. And I tend to disagree with a lot of people. So if I disagree with your comment, it's just because I like you. We'll put it that way. So, but yeah, it's great. Thanks so much.
A little bit of late news here from the Mirror. Maybe take it with a pinch of salt. Man United are now closing in on the signing of Sancho. United are set to save 26.5 million after they were told they could now sign Sancho for 81.5 million this summer. Terms have been agreed with the player. I mean, that's just a regurgitation of what we've been hearing for the last few days. But if you want to get excited about the Mirror on a Saturday night, I'd advise YouPorn. But there you go. The Mirror ain't that good. But if that's what gets you going, you know what?
Yeah.
Save yourself a bit of money from the subscription services, I go. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. I've really enjoyed it. And Sunday night show tomorrow night. I don't know whether you're on that, Joe, but we'll see. We've not even decided who's going to be on that. But look, fantastic show from Joe. I want to give him a real credit for that. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Have a great Saturday evening, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon. Thanks for watching.
See you, folks.